So, hello all, and welcome to this session on World Heart Day 2025. I'm Pete, the Senior Engagement Manager at the Richmond Group of Charities, which is a coalition of charities working together to support people with one or multiple long-term health conditions. We're delighted to be invited to support World Heart Day today by one of our member charities, the Royal Voluntary Service, for a day of activity on their virtual village hall. Born out of our collaborative physical activity programme with the Royal Voluntary Service is the We're Undefeatable campaign, which supports and inspires people living with long-term health conditions to be active in a way that works for them. The campaign features the real-life stories of people living with health conditions and how they've found their way to move more. There's a great support offer through We're Undefeatable with tools, resources and information on our website to help people to find their way to move and to inspire them too. So you can access that and the website at weareundefeatable.co.uk. But today is World Heart Day and all about celebrating people living with heart conditions and how they're moving more in a way that works for them. So today there's a host of activities that you can join live or that you can catch up on demand to support and inspire people with heart conditions or other long-term health conditions too. So this month we've launched our Healthy Hearts campaign in collaboration with Lancashire County Council to inspire people far and wide through 10 new stories of people living with heart conditions and other conditions and how they're being active. You can find out more about the campaign at www.lancashire.gov.uk/Healthy Hearts. So to kickstart World Heart Day and our collaboration with Royal Voluntary Service, we're delighted to be joined by John and Nick, two campaign storytellers from our Healthy Hearts campaign, who found their way to move after being diagnosed with heart conditions. John and Nick are also volunteers and find that volunteering is a great way to keep them moving, as well as other activities that they build into their daily life. So for this first session for today, and to set the scene for a wonderful day celebrating World Heart Day, you'll be hearing from John and Nick as they share their journeys about living with heart conditions and how they found their way to move to support their own health and well-being. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in John and Nick now. So John and Nick, we'll start with you, John. If you just want to say a quick hello and a little bit about yourself.
Hi, good morning. My name's John. I do volunteering at Mortimer. I used to be very healthy. Last year working, doing community care, 50 hours. And then on one morning on my day off, as I was going to a first aid course, I had a heart attack, which changed my life. Rushed to hospital, went to Liverpool Heart and Chest Hospital, had a stent put in, and I was in there for quite a few days. And my journey since then has been a challenge, but a good one in some ways after I got over some of the complications. But right now I'm got very good.
That's great. No, that's really great to hear, and thank you for sharing that. And we'll dive a little bit more into your journey, some of the challenges, but also how you've overcome that as we go through the session. So thanks for sharing that, John. And Nick, over to you. Say for you a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself.
Well, I'm Nick. I'm from Rossendale, and I do a bit of volunteering at the local food bank. My journey started 18 months, something like that ago. I was on my way to the football with one of my neighbours who's quite a bit younger than me, who walks a lot faster than me. Once we got to the football, I was complaining of like having chest pains, thought nothing more about it. Went home, carried on life as normal, walking my dog up the street, going to deliver my stuff at my food bank, and the pains became more and more, and eventually I went to my doctors and was diagnosed with angina, ending up at Blackburn Royal, and like John, having stents put in, and then from then I've carried on doing my volunteer work, walking my dog, and visiting the football again. So and things have improved. I was referred on to the local sports centre to join the cardio rehabilitation group, which I found very useful, and I'm still attending my cardio group up there, and other exercise classes and other sort of weight management courses. So I've become pretty involved with the local sports centre, which I found really useful and helpful, which has enabled me to carry on with me volunteering.
Yeah. Right. So all links together, doesn't it? It's sort of helping you're sort of volunteering, but also being active is helping you to do that. And we'll come back to that in a little while, if that's okay, Nick. But John, going back to you, I just wanted to hear a little bit about you. You mentioned sort of having the stents and having the heart attack. And I guess it'd be interesting to know, at first, what were some of those challenges that you faced when you were first diagnosed, and some of the symptoms and things that I guess on a day-to-day you were finding was impacting you?
After my heart attack, when I came home, very weak. My mind wasn't working as fast as normal, keeping up with my body. Then I ended back up in hospital, pains in my chest again. I was in another 4 days. So they sorted out my medication and gave me more blood thinners, injections. And when I came home, it was the aftermath dealing with it. You see, I've worked 50 hours a week in care in the community, very healthy, no issues. And all of a sudden in my life, I got nothing. I was very weak. I couldn't even pick the kettle up to make a cup of tea. I couldn't pick the milk up. So it became mentally, emotionally, physically challenging. I attended heart rehab to help me learn some different exercises that I could deal with. I could go out for a walk for 5 minutes and then come back in. In-house, I started then doing small exercises, like sitting on the chair, raising my legs, putting them down, raising my arms. I then ordered some, and got one. I should have got one, but exercise straps that they have in the hospital. So you've got like 3 different colours, like you got yellow, blue, green and red, 5 I think. And each one is a different strength. So I use them, stretch my arm, stretch my leg, and just nice and slowly to build up. You don't have to go to a gym, you don't have to run round. And I've got little weights that I've started to use, and gradually I've become stronger and better. I'm 16 months on now, and I'm nearly at that stage to be, okay, but I've still got a few issues.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's really interesting. And I think a lot of people will probably resonate with those challenges that you face, because you may be working, it sounds like long hours, by the way, John, those 50-hour weeks, you're in I guess a care role, and you don't expect these things to happen, and then something like that can happen that can just, as you said, it impacted you physically, emotionally, mentally. But it's great to hear about that journey that you've been through, where you've sort of taken on the cardiac rehabilitation, which is really important and powerful within a person's journey to getting their health back to where they want it to be. But then also how you've took it home, and how you've you've done the exercises that you've learnt there and taken them home. So thank you for sharing that. And Nick, I'm going to come to you next, because you mentioned you're living with angina. So can you tell us a little bit about some of the challenges that you faced living with angina, and then tell us more about those programs that you talked about? What did you do, similar to John, in terms of getting back to physical activity?
Yeah, well, I went to my doctors and told them that I was getting these chest pains, and they did the ECGs and the, what have you, and they sent me to the hospital, diagnosed with angina, and then the doctor had me back and put these couple of stents in. I didn't really think that, you know, that there were much wrong with me at first, because, you know, my life was relatively normal. It was just every now and again I was getting these pains, and with having to sort of, my wife's got mobility issues, so I've got to be around to sort of make sure that she gets to doctors and gets in and out at bath and so on. Doing me volunteer work up at the food bank, lifting these big heavy crates. I was thinking, you know, am I doing all right here? So I was getting a bit concerned about whether the sort of things I was getting involved with were going to exacerbate the problem. So once I got the stents in, I felt a lot more confident about carrying on my life. And then I was referred by the cardio nurse to the local Malpits, the leisure centre, to do this cardio rehabilitation course, which was 12 weeks. I went up there for the 12 weeks, and there were other women and fellas up there like me. They all had different issues. They were all related to heart, but some of them had heart attacks, some of them had angina, some of them had stents, and so on. So it was good to talk to the other folk about their problems and share my problems and get advice and tips from them, as well as the person leading the course. And then from that, there was an extension of another 12 weeks to do the particular exercises again. So I went on that, and that was like, and there was no end date to that. It started off as a 12-week course, but it's gone on for about 20 weeks. So that's good to go along to. And then from that, somebody suggested that I went to this weight management session. So I signed up for this weight management session, and Paul down there was superb. I mean, we used to go along, and he'd be telling us about what was healthy, what was not healthy, and so on. I downloaded a particular app on my phone, and I use it to this day. And now when we go shopping, my wife used to take ages to go around the aisle, but it's now me that takes ages to go around the aisle, because I'm looking at the calorie content and the fat content and the protein content on these packets. So I'm more aware of what's in the particular food I'm eating. And then that gave me the confidence then to carry on with me volunteering up at the food bank. So that takes up quite a bit of my time, because I'll go picking up donations from the supermarkets of an evening, taking them up to the centre, and then during the day we're delivering to various people who are in need. So so that I feel that I'm able to do that because I haven't got the same problems with the heart and the same pains that I had previously. So it's given me this confidence to do that. And also I have a little dog that we take up the street, and that was getting a bit difficult, because I was getting up in the street, and then I was getting these pains, and I had to stop and sit down. But now things are much better.
Great. And thank you. It sounds like that journey you've been through quite a few programs. You've been through the leisure services as well, and also doing things outside of that, like volunteering or walking your dog, which is keeping you busy. My dog does the same. Morning and night, I'm walking my dog as well, Reggie. So I can completely relate to that. Wind or rain, you have to get them out, don't you? But no, thank you for sharing that. And I think it's also really great to hear how people who are in a care setting and how they are supporting others in their lives, then how you can fit moving more around that, because that's an important part of your daily life, I'm sure, as well. So yeah, thank you both for sharing that early bit.
I mean, I was getting worried because I felt that I wasn't able to sort of be there for the wife, and her mum and dad are elderly, and there's only really me around that's available to take them on their appointments for the hospital and doctors and so on and so forth.
Yeah, exactly. And it's about finding the time to keep supporting them, but also support yourself is what I'm hearing from your story. So thank you, Nick. And John, I guess sort of moving from that then, so we've heard a little bit about both of your sort of early journeys and how you started to get moving more. I just want to ask you what the benefits you found since you were doing your cardiac rehab, and then the stuff that you're doing at home. How does that benefit you now?
So I did a 12-week rehab at Scammerdale health centre with Jenny, and learnt how to do small exercises without overdoing it. Sometimes you just think can get into it and just you're fine, and I did that for 12 weeks, which that benefited me. And I would say to anybody, if anybody who's, hopefully they don't, but if they end up in a situation, use all the resources, the rehabs and all that lot, because it is a benefit 100%. For myself, I go for walks now, walk a lot longer. Doing the weights, I can lift more than I did. When I used to go shopping only 4 months ago, I struggled lifting bags shopping. Now I'm doing better due to all the exercise I do at home. And to me, it's been a positive as well, because it's kept my mind going, because I can't do care again. I've been told I won't be able to do that again. So my life has changed dramatically into where I'm going. But I'm very positive of what I've learned and how far I've come. I struggle with COPD, I struggle with asthma, anxiety, as well as mental health, what I'm going through. But I see a positive side of it now. And doing voluntary at Martimere 1 day a week, that does good for my mental health. Getting out, talking to people, meeting lots of new people who come through, and the children and all that, and that has a good effect. So,
right. That sounds really good. That sounds really positive, and I think that's an interesting message that you're sharing, is that it's not just the heart condition or diagnosis that you've had. You're living with other conditions, and actually being active or the volunteering is helping to support those as well, isn't it? And that's good to hear. And Nick, I'm going to ask the same to you. What benefits have you found since you've been more active, or that you've been continuing to be active even now?
Well, I think the benefits that I found out, I've become more aware of my own body, and what I need and what I'm putting in the body. From the weight management, I'm really aware now of what I'm eating and what's healthy and what's not healthy. And then from the volunteering side of things, I do feel that it does my well-being a lot of good, because I'm up there. I'm mixing with other like-minded people who are concerned about folk who are struggling. Going out to these folk, it's a real eye-opener when you go to some of these people and you see how much they struggle. So it gives me this sense of worth, doing something for the local community, meeting the other volunteers and talking to them about all sorts of things. It's good for my own well-being, being able to be available for my wife and the wider members of the family when needed, is a good thing as well, because I was always quite large in the family, a large person, where people would rely upon for all sorts of things, and to be able to be back there to a certain extent is good as well, good for them and good for me. So I think that the things that have happened since I had the stents put in, and I did the rehabilitation up at the health the leisure centre, have been really beneficial for me, and made me my life a lot more positive.
Good. And I think positivity seems to be something that's across both of your stories, and actually the role of volunteering and how it goes beyond, I guess, you're talking about supporting your own health and well-being, but also the well-being and supporting the communities that you live and you have probably been in for a long time, and also have the impact on your own sort of friends and family as well. So it's really powerful. That, thank you for sharing that both, and the power of both of those. John, coming to you about sort of the future of being active. So why is it important to you, I guess, to continue being active? Why is it something that you think you'll always continue to do now?
If I've learned something since the heart attack, is doing nothing, your mind just becomes numb. You get into a depression and mental health, and you become more depressed and down. Being more active takes away all that. It's so important to do something, to focus, and to keep being positive. Yes, something's happened. Yes, the journey could be short or longer, but being active helps you, stimulate you for good mental health. I've got diabetes as well, so obviously I have to watch what I eat. But I'm positive in everything I've done. I feel good. I feel that everything that I've achieved with people, it's been a massive success.
Yeah.
We don't know. I would say nobody knows what's going to happen to them. But through the experience, I would say that it's so important that we look after our mental health, our bodies, and be mindful, because when it happens to you, it's a life changer. And some don't get back what you once had, and you've got to make a new journey. And if it does, after you overcome things, be positive. Use all the resources that's there and keep going. you know, there's always a good light, and like sources like this and other people don't just sit there and dwell on it.
Well, that's beautifully said, John, I've got to say, and I think you've touched on quite a lot there, and some really stuff that can motivate others there, because you're talking about prevention of some of the conditions or challenges, but also then if it does happen, that you can still be positive, you can still lead an active life, you can still be social, you can still volunteer with others, which I think's really powerful. So thank you for sharing that. And Nick, what similar question for you? Why is it important for you to keep being active and keep moving in your daily life?
Well, I think in the past, I've always been an active person in my life. I've always wanted to be doing something. I'm retired now, but when I was working, I was a very busy person. And then once I'd retired, I wanted to be busy and doing things. And I'm always got something planned for the next day or the next week or whatever. And I think I got to the stage when I was struggling a bit with the chest pains and the angina. I was getting a bit concerned that maybe I weren't going to be as active, because this was going to prevent me from doing what I'd always done, and that was a worry. And I suppose a bit like John, I never realised that that perhaps, you know, I was as worried as I was, and then getting out up to the leisure centre. Sometimes I didn't want to go. I was feeling lethargic and a bit down, and I thought, oh, I don't. Is there an excuse that I can make and maybe ring up and say? But then I went, and once I got there, and you know, 10 minutes into the session, I was feeling, you know, a bit more invigorated and I felt better about it. And I said to Julie on a number of occasions, you know, I didn't want to come today, but I came, and once I got here, it improved. I felt, you know, my legs were aching, or my back were aching. Like after 5 minutes, I got into the session and it were feeling better. And I think that that helped quite a lot. And I need to be active. I want to be active, and that's what I want for the future, really. And I think doing what I'm doing, hopefully, is going to make me be able to do the things that I've been doing with the food bank, and walking the dog, and going to the football match, and leading a relatively normal life as I can.
Right, and again, really well said through there. That was again beautifully put. I think you've touched upon so many things that in the future are important to you both, to keep moving, but it goes beyond the exercise itself. And I think you've both sort of shared how the rehab supported, how other leisure-based programs have supported, the resources within healthcare and the professionals involved there, which is really powerful. But then also how you've empowered yourselves to go and continue to be active and to support others, and through volunteering or through other work. So it really lovely for you to share that with us today. And what I'm going to finish up on for both of you is just one quick thing that you might share, that let's say other people who are tuning into this are newly diagnosed with a heart or another long-term health condition, and they're not sure about being active. John, I'll come to you first. What would you say to them in terms of, you know, what advice would you give to someone who's unsure about being active when they've been diagnosed with a health condition?
Get proper advice on resources like heart and health places, because they deal with everyday people. Exercise small, you know, even if you sat down, raise your legs, or sit on a chair and then stand up, do a few of them, and just work out how your body feels, but do small amounts. Don't just dwell on it, because if you dwell on it, then it becomes worse. So start off small. Don't just dive in. Don't just think, oh, well, I'll just carry on. Recognize that you have a problem, but recognize there is resources. There's people, professional, who can guide you professionally to help you achieve your main goal, is to overcome and be better.
Perfect. That's really well said. A lot of your story, John, focuses on sort of building up gradually. You talked about being able to walk for a short amount of time, but now being able to do more, or adding more weights or more of the exercises that you're doing at home. And I think that's a really powerful message to finish on, in terms of the starting slow and gradually building that up. And Nick, I'll say the same for you. It might be similar to John, but what's one message that you would say for other people who are thinking about being more active, based on what you know and what you've learned?
Well, I'd say, get out there and find what is available out there. The people out there, to help and support you. I found that going to these sessions, talking to other people, listening to their stories, listening to their difficulties, their achievements that they've gone through, has helped me, because being with others and taking advice and doing your best is all that I've done. And I would say to anybody else, just do your best and get out there and see what's available and tap into it.
Lovely. And I think that's the perfect note to finish on, doing your best, because that's all we can do. Whether it's, like you said, some days you didn't want to go, some days you didn't want to get out of bed and do that because you might have been in pain, or you might have just not wanted to go on that day, but you have done, and you've done your best. And I think that resonates from both your stories. So before I wrap up, I just want to say a huge thank you, both John and Nick, for being involved in this Healthy Hearts campaign, and for hopefully inspiring many people on this virtual village hall session today. Your stories are so powerful, and I think I'm sure that others will be motivated and be inspired by hearing your journeys today. So thank you for being so open and honest with sharing those. And just to wrap up, from our side, thank you for joining this session and for this day of activity on World Heart Day today. And if you want to find out more about our Healthy Hearts campaign, as I said earlier, please visit lancashire.gov.uk/Healthy Hearts. And there's even more inspiring stories. We've got 8 more stories, just like John and Nick's, to inspire you to think about how you can move more when living with a heart or other long-term health conditions too. So thank you very much. Thank you, John and Nick.
Thank you.
Thank you.